Chapter 15. No other time and place on earth has the intensity of the living electricity experienced in New York City on New Year's Eve. People crowd the streets with a feeling of camaraderie that could be understood only if we were to pay a visit to old Japan when the samurai ruled the island. The people on this island, Manhattan, on December 31st, are not bound with a common love for honor. Just a common love for intoxicants, joy and excitement for the impending 12 o'clock that ushers in a new calendar. The end of a year is cause for great celebration. The end of a century causes large amounts of unbounded hoopla. This being both and the end of a millennium brought the cheers and laughs to heights never before witnessed by the stars twinkling above the building's corona. On the 102nd floor of the Empire State Building, couples stand gazing out at the dark night. Some are embraced in their lovers' arms. Some are looking out with marvel. All are feeling the vibrations from the cheers below that make the wind sound like no more than a whisper. Times Square, being the center of this celebration, is carpeted with humans. The streets, for an average 6-block radius, are closed off from traffic. Downtown, the trade towers stand tall in the night air, the anticipation and sheer energy rocking them gently like the wind itself. Somewhere between the landmarks is a club packed to the gills with partygoers. The music thumps an artificial heartbeat into the people that fill the rooms. In the main room, which houses the bar, there stands a table in the corner. Standing near that table are two men who are best of friends. Well-built and jittery from cocaine consumption, the two are feeding off the energy of the room as well as each other. Jeffrey, the blonde, stands facing the table where their master sits. The master is a friend of the two, but whereas they tend to work their muscles at gyms, he chooses to expand his mind with chemical substances. In the club, the master sits silently in the commotion. He is a regular at this house of style, and has been referred to as the king of clubs on more than one occasion. Jeffrey and Joey can't sit still for more than a few seconds. "Can you feel it? Can you funkin' feel the madness in the air?" Jeffrey shouts over the music. "Feel it? I'm controlling it," replies Joey. "I'm controlling every funkin' person in this room." "We both are, asshole. We own this fucking club. No one in here dare oppose the Knights of the King." He leans over the table. "Right, Jimmy?" Jimmy looks up from his daze, contempt in his eyes. "You guys don't own shit. This room holds more power than you can imagine." Jeffrey and Joey look at each other. "Jeff, you ask me if I can feel it? I can see it, plain as day. All that blow has you hallucinating. You aren't controlling shit." Joey leans over the table. "Why are you getting down, Jim? It's the party of the century, and you can't indulge us?" "I don't indulge the stupid or the weak," Jim replies coldly. Jeff didn't hear him, so Joey shouts it in his ear. The two bodybuilders confer, telling each other that they are NYU students, so they don't fall into the stupid category. They speak quickly, speeding the words into their bodies and forcing the adrenaline to flow. Jeff leans over. "Then give your knights a mission with which they may prove their strength, Your Highness." "Go away. You're strong, I know it. Don't ask me to play with you guys." The two persist and annoy their king. He doesn't give in. They continue and anger the monarch until he decides to send them on a mission. "All right, you boys want something? Bring me the 3 virgins that are in this club." Joey breaks in. "But by the time we get them to you, they won't be virgins no more." Jeff laughs and slaps Joey on the back. Jim looks at the two with mounting disgust. "Fine, come here." He calls the two of them down to his sides. "You boys want a real test of strength? Here's one for you that should drain your bodies of that powdered shit." Joey was about to defend his drug of choice. Jim continues. "The ultimate test of strength. Hell hath no fury like the guy at the end of the bar." He points to a man sitting alone, drinking shots, and looking up at the clock every now and again. "That little brown-hair prick?" Jeff asks in disbelief. "Him." Jim looks at Jeff. "If anyone is controlling this room tonight, it's him." Joey springs to his feet. "Then we will take the control and give it to your highness as a token of our gratitude for such a test." Jim shakes his head and watches the two walk across the room to the end of the bar. The arrogance in their stride makes him wince. He watches with interest. The bodybuilders walk forward. Jeff takes the lead and comes up on the far side of the man. Putting his empty shot glass on the bar, he turns his head and looks at Jeff. Joey taps him on his right shoulder and is greeted with the coldest brown eyes he has ever seen. The stare makes him hesitate for a moment. Then the mission comes to mind. "Hey, punk. The king of clubs says you have something of his, and we're here to take it back. The control is mine. Don't make me use you as an example of why it is." He turns back to his drinks. Joey and Jeff look at each other wide-eyed. Joey shrugs and Jeff takes action, pushing the man back off his stool. The two stand ready to pummel their nemesis, but there is suddenly a short cocktail table in between them. He stands on the other side of it, holding up a hand. "Pick a number," he says. Jeff is dazed by the sudden appearance of the table. Joey speaks. "Why?" The man says calmly, "So I know how many pieces to break this table into." The knights look at each other and laugh. 16, Jeff says. "That's how many days you're going to be in the hospital." The man smiles and nods, as if he had heard a joke. Then he closes his eyes and his face goes blank. Across the room, the gifted vision of the king allows him to see a bright blue aura permeate around his warrior's foe. He concentrates and sees it grow stronger. Jeff and Joey see nothing of this. In an instant, his eyes open and he throws both his hands down onto the table. Joey looks away as though he heard a break in the ultra-loud music, like there was a skip in the beat. Jim sees the aura surround the table and vanish into it. Jeff stands there laughing. He taps Joey with the back of his hand. "Now that was an impressive demonstration. Let's kick his ass," he says. The man looks up and smiles. The two move in and he leans up. The table that they were walking around is no longer there. A pile of dust lays on the floor between them. Jeff feels the sweat pour out of him. Joey swallows. Jimmy is laughing across the room. "That's more than 16, the man whispers. Jeff and Joey hear it as if it were yelled in their ears. Before Joey can look up, he feels hands grip his stomach and chest, pulling the flesh together into a handle. He is suddenly flung through the air into the crowd on the dance floor. Jeff sees the man standing where Joey had been just a second before. The man takes 2 steps forward and rises into the air, ominously hovering over the bodybuilder. Jeff feels his teeth start to chatter and a warmth grow down from his crotch. The man sneers like a smoking saxophone player. Jeff holds his breath. 2 bouncers that make Jeffrey look like a molehill compared to their mountainous size approach the man from behind. One grabs his arm, pulling him out of the air, and is thrown with great speed and force to the floor. The other wraps his huge arms around the man and lifts him up. The man closes his eyes and the bouncer's face becomes contorted with pain. He screams eerily in his low voice. He looks at his arms as if he had been burnt. In the confusion, the man jumps forward and swings full circle with his right hand. A splash of blood erupts from the bouncer's face, and he sails through the air into the sitting area, breaking cocktail tables and disturbing intimate conversations as he lands. A small crowd gathers around the spectacle. Jeffrey is frozen with fear where he stands, the stain on his pants evident to every onlooker. The man turns to Jeff and smiles like the demon he is. Walking slowly to the bar, he empties his last shot glass. Savoring the taste of the whiskey, he saunters to the far side of the room where the king sits watching, as if he merely needs entertainment. The man leans across the table until his face is millimeters from the king. They both stare at each other. Finally, the man smiles. "Thank you, Your Majesty. This club is yours again." The king smiles but doesn't answer. The man leans up and begins to walk away. He stops and turns back to face the royalty. "I bid you a fond farewell, Your Highness. I must take my leave, for it is New Year's Eve and I have a party to attend." With that, the man disappears, moving too fast to be followed by the eyes that are upon him. Most attribute this to drug-induced euphoria. The king smiles like the devil just had. On the trains into the city, somewhere below the East River, John Coletta sits next to Fish, or is it Felix or Fritz, wondering what the night may have in store for him.